fall into tatters, and the rest of the world thinking this is a good place to be, let's take a chunk of it. And of course, the British people being absolute great trade people in those days, we have the deep harbor, so they took over Hong Kong and said, look, this is mine. And of course, in those days, Hong Kong was very much like a barren rock with some fishermen there. And in order to make it into what Hong Kong is today, one of the most prosperous city, financial center, etc., they need to do something. And it was in 1937, the government then decided to set up a post-secondary technical institute, which is considered the first vocational schools in Hong Kong. Of course, this building, only you can find the image, and it's been long demolished for something bigger and better. Now, everything was quite fragmented in Hong Kong in terms of vocational education. Everybody wanted to do a bit of vocational education. There are different kinds of colleges of all sizes. Sometimes they do things the same, sometimes different. It was in 1982. The Hong Kong government then decided that, well, let's mix everything together, put everything together and do vocational education right. But the then Hong Kong government is very clever. Like we all know, sitting here, are expert in vocational education. It's a bit of a headache. You know, how are you going to do well? What are you going to do? It's changeable. I mean, you can have a secondary school, primary school curriculum talking about the Newton law of physics, you know. It's been 200 years. It doesn't change. You take a textbook 200 years ago, teach Newton law of physics, literally it still works. But for vocational education, you take something like 5 years ago, particularly at the highly technologically advanced area, they know you're talking about history. Okay, so the government then decided that, well, we're not going to do it. It's a can of worms. So they set up these things called a Vocational Training Council. Essentially, it's a quasi-government organization, or in Hong Kong we call it a statutory body. So the Department of Education then decided that you guys do vocational education, you look after the school, you do your curriculum, you know, you're fine, you know, you do it. Just let us know how you're doing. And of course, if we are not doing well, they will say, well, you're not doing well. If we're doing well, they say, well, that's what your job is. So in 1982, all the vocational education, ranging from the last 3 years, we have a 6-year secondary school system.